Okay, here we go. Early August. This is your Solenis and Novak weather 30-day outlook for the month of August now. And of course, what we like to look at least before we get into the 30-day forecast, is what happened over the past 30 days or so. This is what you're seeing now is a drought monitor map. We show this to you every time we have a video here. But take a look at the drought situation over the United States now. A couple of things that really stand out. Look at what's happening over the Central Plains states and in the Western Corn Belt here and into portions of the Upper Midwest. Drought conditions are still a problem there. However, and I'll show you this in a little bit, we've been receiving some pretty good rains here over this section of the United States here just within the last 30 days or so, and that is really starting to help out. Meanwhile, drought conditions are continuing over the northwestern sections of the United States. And then here's also a problem. Texas and into New Mexico now, drought is becoming a concern there as intense heat, July heat, has really caused a problem over large sections of the southern U.S. on west towards the desert southwest. The rest of the United States, almost the eastern half of the United States, really no problems there. And the Rocky Mountains have been receiving copious amounts of precipitation. And I don't see that stopping anytime soon. Here's now the precipitation. These are the anomalies that have occurred over the last 30 days. So basically from the start of July now into just this first week here of August. And look at this. This is a kind of a broken record here over the last 30 to 45 days. But here's where the storm track has set up now for the last month to month and a half, basically from the northern and central Rocky Mountains on east and southeast into the Central Plains, and then towards the Tennessee River Valley, and then eventually the storms move east into the eastern sections of the United States. Of course, what you're seeing here, and the problem is that there's been hardly any rain at all over Texas and New Mexico, and for that matter over the western U.S., and we've also had a dry area here in the upper Midwest where near or below average precipitation has occurred. But yes, this is the storm track right here, and I want you to remember this as we get into the August forecast. As far as the temperatures are concerned, the anomalies now, departures from normal, over the last 30 days or so, it's been near or below normal over about the northern one half of the United States east of the Rockies. Meanwhile, this is not a surprise. Look at the intense heat over the southern sections of the United States. Temperatures almost 10 degrees above the average over the last 30 days over New Mexico and Texas. Just some real impressive heat down there. Of course, what separates the heat is a jet stream, and you can see that this is right about where the jet stream has been located now since the start of July, and of course that would also be where the storm track is located. Now let's get into the forecast here as we go into the next 30 days here, and we'll load up the map from the GFS computer model guidance, the American model guidance. And what I really want you to keep an eye on is what's happening down here in Texas and New Mexico. This is what we call a ridge of high pressure that just sits over that section of the United States here. And let's rewind this again. This is now here at the start of August, and once again, take a look at what's happening down here in Texas and New Mexico. That ridge of high pressure just sits there as the blue areas, and what we consider troughs, stay over the northern sections of the U.S. And this is really interesting as we head to the middle and latter portions of August. Look at this, a trough, or these heights that are lowering over the northern half of the U.S. continue to deepen, while the southern U.S., it looks like, is going to stay warm here as we go through much of August. And there is a little bit of a weather pattern change here from the GFS computer model guidance as we head into late August, as we finally get what looks to be a pretty strong trough developing over the western U.S. But that's not until about the last week or 10 days of August, if that happens at all. But if that does, that would certainly be a weather pattern change, and a welcome change over much of the country. Okay, here's your jet stream, the River Vera, 30 to 35,000 feet. And just long story short, you can kind of see exactly what's happening. The River Vera, and let's rewind this. Let's go back to the first week here of August, and then we'll continue through the middle of August. And check it out. Yep, this is a fast west to northwest flow across the United States. And as we head into the middle and latter portions of August, that doesn't change, at least if you believe the European computer model guidance, as we get a west to northwest flow over the northern half of the U.S. That would keep the stormy weather right in this region here as we go through time. Hey, looking at the precipitation expectations here over the next 30 days or so, this would take us through the month of August. There it is, with the jet stream flowing from the west and northwest to the east and southeast across the United States, especially the heart of the United States. We should see plenty of action here from the northern and central Rockies on east to much of the eastern U.S. Meanwhile, the western U.S., the west coast, on east and southeast into Texas, I think are going to stay for the most part dry, especially for this first 20 or 25 days of August. Now the temperatures over that same period, and this isn't a surprise, I think the heat is going to continue over much of the southern and western U.S., while cooler or near or below average temperatures will be found from the Great Lakes region and Tennessee River Valley on east and north towards the northeastern sections of the U.S. And then the rest of the United States, of course, should be near normal as far as temperatures are concerned, which would mean a continuation of some cool Canadian air, then being replaced by warm air during periods over the northern plains and portions of the western Corn Belt. Okay, last but not least, here's your drought concern map here as we go into August. With the fast northwest flow over the United States, I'm expecting active weather to produce plenty of precipitation from the northern and central Rockies on east and southeast into much of the eastern U.S. Hopefully, and I think this is likely going to be the case, the drought conditions over the northern plains, upper Midwest, and western Corn Belt, I think they're going to ease, or they're going to decrease here during the month of August, and no reprieve from the dry conditions from Oregon and Washington and California on east and southeast through the desert southwest and Texas. Intense heat, especially in this section of the United States, along with dry weather, will increase drought conditions in those regions. All right, that's your Solenis and Novak Weather 30-day outlook. Thank you for joining me. We'll talk to you again in September.